What's going on, guys? It's your boy, White Boy Brian here, back again with another video. And man, it's been a long week. Not to bore you guys with the details, but it's just been a long week. Have a little break here, so decided to give you guys a video for Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully, everybody's out there doing something. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy your time, barbecue, family stuff, and I kind of want to get into the video. So. I kind of there's been a couple profound statements or things that I've kind of ran into that kind of shed some I want to say some light, but they shed some maybe some I guess more conscious things that I wasn't even aware of myself. And I like thinking, man. I think I really like thinking, but I also realize there's no point in ruminating about thoughts. And I like to do things as well. I don't like to just sit there and think about things all the time or honestly be a nerd so much. I feel like I've been a nerd for so long and I still continue to do so because it's kind of part of my reality and my job, my career even. But I don't, I'm not like crazy about learning as much as I guess I used to. It's still a part of me. Anyways, so, just always thinking in that sense. And I came across this quote from Timothy Chalamet, whatever the guy's name is from Dune. You guys know that main actor. And he was talking with somebody. But anyways, a quote that I got from what he said was, life is coming from you, not at you. And man, it sounds so, whatever when you hear that. But in a real sense, it really sticks because I remember when I was in high school. When I was in high school, I had a very much a frame of mind like it was me against everybody else. Everybody else didn't understand me, and I don't think I like consciously thought this or like consciously was aware that I was thinking this way, but I always thought that. Like I always thought a lot of people around me were dumb. And do you know, to the extent I was right. Like I wasn't like wrong to think that because I would see what everybody else was concerned about versus what I was concerned about. And obviously, a lot more people were concerned about, social status, hierarchy, popularity, hanging out, doing the cool stuff. And I only cared about the things that I genuinely liked, video games at that time or computer stuff, building computers, computer hardware, technology related things, things that really piqued my interest, and even then, these are things that were piquing my interest because they were very individualistic things. I also didn't realize that I have a really strong adherence to those things because people generally can easily disappoint me. And, I don't know how that's going to change for me in the future. I've been getting slowly better at it, but I think I just have high standards for myself and I do project that onto other people. Some of you guys may relate, like if you have, like if you have goals and these kind of ambitions that you kind of project those things onto other people. And I've been trying to find that balance to those things. But at the end of the day, it's just something that you have to just be mindful of and keep in mind. God, that was such a slow rap there on the screen. But it's something that you got to keep in mind. Anyways, though, back to the quote. I was kind of like, I had like this, it's all me versus them. And so that kind of became more so my reality, right? Like I didn't have that many friends, even though there was a lot of people around me that I could have even related to in some sense. But I was so inundated by, how much I held down to that belief and that feeling that's what became my reality, truthfully, And that whole sentiment or that whole belief that life is coming from you is even into play today. The amount of people that project their insecurities onto other people is insane. And it's only exaggerated because of all this social media stuff, right? And so whenever somebody acts a certain kind of way, or they mold themselves to be out this kind of person, you just have to remember that a lot of the times they're just projecting their own disappointments of that other people did to them. It's kind of like it's a constant cycle of like, I will do this to you because somebody else did this to me that I saw in the same light or I saw in a similar light and I was just as disappointed. A lot of this happens with people that are, I would say, more like, have social like Instagram followings, or they just have like a more of an ego about it, because their identity starts to become that, and they have to protect that sense of that. So, and the new, I don't know, the new, what is currency is that clout, perceived value but not actual value. And I think that speaks to our stock market and our economics right now. A lot of things are based off of borrowing from the future. Like there's a lot of currency of anxiety, right? Like there is a lot of just, things that aren't even guaranteed, or things that we're betting on that. Like more of our minds and even our own pockets are betting on that. Like crypto, people have access to these things more now, if you think about it. And in some ways it's a good thing, some ways it's a bad thing, because if you can bet on the future in a good sense, and you have a solid foundation or solid thinking about it, that is really good. But if you think in a pessimistic sense, you can still benefit from it, but at the cost of what? Like the detriment of others, or your own soul or spirit. And that's really shitty, right? Because some people can feel good in a moment about, like, I'm not messing with this person because they're the such and such way or whatever. And I said this in a video before, but I really do think that it says a lot about your character, who you are, the way you treat somebody that can't do anything for you, or when you notice somebody, especially like in a social setting, has a deficit, right? And you start to use them as a way to step up amongst yourself, amongst a crowd of people. That's really a great sign. That's a good sign that you're probably weak. And a lot of times it doesn't even happen, I would say openly. I would say like it happens more subtly. Like people just, how people just, you'll be in a conversation and you'll say something in a crowd of people that you may not be so much familiar with. And they will just ignore like whatever you say. They won't even acknowledge you, right? They won't bring it upon the group to even, and that happens sometimes, because a conversation in the group can be happening so many different ways, right? Like they can, people just are more interested, in what the conversation that was just happening was about, or maybe somebody else's idea, right? That they also had the same time you had your idea, they say something else, and that becomes more out there. But, if you're in that group and somebody doesn't acknowledge, oh, what were you going to say, Brian? And they're like, oh yeah, actually, and you could read the room. You could be like, never mind. I know we're talking about this, so it's fine. But bringing it up, I mean, my whole point is just that there are subtle ways that people do this, and a lot of it is just a projection of their insecurities. And this is why I'm saying that you shouldn't take this personally. Like this, in a sense, I'm even saying that life is coming at you in a certain way, but it's coming from you by your perception of what's going on. Right? It's not so much like, oh, these people are trying to get me and nobody likes me, and they probably don't like me because of this, and I need to fix this and do that, and that this is what's gonna allow me to have that acceptance into that group. This is gonna be that one thing, and you're gonna go drive yourself crazy over this. I know that these things aren't always how do I say? These things aren't always, aligned or in tune with what you may think is real out there. So as you kind of go in your day to day, right? These are things that live in your subconscious. Like these are your beliefs, right? Like I used to believe that I was genuinely an ugly person. I know a lot of people, how do I say? A lot of people may think that about themselves, or think that they're ugly at a certain time period or place, or like momentaries, or between a certain span of time. But I genuinely thought like I was like, just okay, this is it, like this is a card I was dealt. I'm ugly, that's kind of was what I was, more so my reality or frame of reality. And those beliefs became constantly tested and concreted by how I was perceiving the reactionary responses from people, especially in social settings. Girls, especially, the opposite sex dictates that a lot. If you're not getting a lot of attention from there, then, that'll start to shape a reality that you may not otherwise come to accept, or you come to accept because that's just a response. Your experiences are dictating a lot of your beliefs too, you know. But in that sense of the matter, right? You have to, if you notice that you are believing something that you know to not necessarily be true, or you want to change the outcome of that belief or those experiences that you have because of that belief, you have to have new experiences, right? So you can't just, this is why it's so gay to me that you say, oh yeah, I've always been that way. I've always been like that. Yeah, yada yada, ha ha ha. Like, that's such a stupid way of thinking. I really, like, that bothers me so much when people just kind of accept the fact that they act a certain way or do certain things, and that's just, they're doomed to be that person or be that thing. It's like, what are we doing? You know what I mean? Like, are you, I don't know. That just really irks me. You can change, like I said in previous videos, you can change your personality. You can change who you are. All you have to do is just have certain experiences and reprogram your way, or reprogram your life to where if X happens, or you're in a situation where X happens, you do Y, right? Even if you don't believe that, Z will happen, the result, like, you act like Y in those moments, because this will start reprogramming. Yeah, maybe you have the same experiences you did before. Maybe it won't. Maybe the way that you thought will go the same way again. But you're thinking and proactively approaching a situation differently, and that if a new experience were to happen, you have a new understanding that you challenge your belief. You're like, whoa, wait a second. I've never had this kind of reaction before, or this kind of result. And but at the same time, you'll be like, well, I always did this, so this ends up working. So I'll keep doing this, right? And so that won't always happen the first time, because sometimes the way you approach things, the first time, or differently, I would say, sometimes it'll be a little rocky. It may not be, I don't want to say perfect. It may not be in a way that's, I don't want to say optimal either. God, dude, this self-improvement stuff really just ruins words. But I would just say, for lack of a better term, optimal, because it just, I don't know, just, there's things that need fine tuning, right? You're not always going to be the best at whatever you do, especially if you're trying something new for the first time. So, optimal maybe, but more so like just refined, and having your own style towards things, right? This sounds like it's a lot of the ways that I'm framing this sounds more more appropriate for social interactions, but it's really for much of anything. That's just one area of life where you can apply this to, but it's in other areas as well. You can do this in your own business, right? In your own career, in maybe a new skill that you want to try. Maybe you have a short temper, right? That's perfect. Like, if you have a short temper, like, you have unlimited opportunities, because a lot of things piss you off, right? A lot of things just bother the shit out of you. So you have tons of opportunities to reframe, the way that you think about certain situations. And that's a perfect example. You're so soothing. You're like, we cope so hard, with those feelings of soothing, because it's just something that it's just easier for us to, do those things, get over things a certain kind of way. That's why coping is so popular. Like, I'll share you guys a story. Um, well, I'll say this. So, a disclaimer. So, I haven't been out of a relationship for too long. So I'm very wary to my own behaviors in the past, of where I would try to fill in the void of intimacy by just, entertaining, like, what do they call it? Rotation, entertaining different people, that kind of thing. Just enough intimacy to where I don't have to commit to anything. But I don't want to do that this time. I don't feel like I need to do that this time, to be honest. Not more so much, I don't want to, but I don't necessarily feel like I need to. And I know this because I'm like, what is this gonna do for me? Like, I don't need another sense of emotional validation. I already am confident and comfortable with like how I am and what I have and what I do and what I can achieve naturally with my own merit and by who I am. But the point I'm trying to make there is that I'm not in the position, or I'm not in the point where I feel like I want to. I don't know. I don't want to like um, not talk to new people necessarily, but I'm not just in a dating point right now, you know? So they kind of need a refresher breather, and that's fine. You know, sometimes it's like you just don't want to, you just don't want to do it because it's something that you realize like, what is this going to benefit me in the long run? But you got to be careful there because sometimes you like it's a saying where some guys are like, well, when she's like super bad, but I don't have six figures, $1 million, and the Lamborghini and a mansion, it's like, oh, okay, like you do realize like that's probably not going to happen for 99% of people, period. And then even for another percent of that, not until like a later stage of your life. I digress. But that's kind of that similar coping that you can easily do if you're not careful. But in my case, I think that I don't know, like I'm just not ready, and that's okay. And I did see, like I was at the park the other day and I saw a very attractive girl, and it was kind of one of those moments where I felt like God was setting me up. Like, you ever played a game, the NPC, like World of Warcraft, the NPC is just walking around and has an exclamation point above their head because it's like, it's pulling you in. This woman had like a gravity about her. The situation, the environment was very gravitational to want, like, it was kind of there. And I just was like, you know what? I could do this, but what was running through my thoughts was like, I was thinking about the future. I was like, I'm not like, what if she, like, I was thinking like, what if she wants a relationship? I'm not ready for that right now. I was like thinking too much into that pocket. And I'm not gonna lie, I felt a little gay about it because it was like a while where I could have made something happen. Like it was about a good 30 seconds. And I was just like, you know what? There will be a lot more opportunities. And at that point, I had to be like, okay, well, if you're going to have that sense of thinking that you're not ready yet, give yourself a timeline. And so initially I said, I'll give it about another month and a half because that'll be about like a 3-month time period where I can be more open to that experience. But at the same time, I'm thinking like, I'm doing great in my career. I'm studying. I'm still learning a lot of things, and I'm overall pretty happy with the trajectory of how things are going. And a relationship and just entertaining people and dating people takes time. It takes time away from your schedule, and I don't want somebody to feel as though I'm robbing them of time that could be otherwise quality or precious to them, because I wouldn't want that done to me. So I'm having a lot more empathy into that regard too. But I'm also trying to be careful that I won't cope over a long period of time, right? And that's pretty, that coping stuff is pretty important for me because I hate it when I hear it from other people. And so there has to be a sense of, shit has to make sense, But yeah, that's kind of where I would say, I use that. I was like bringing that up as an example because, it was only maybe within the last few years that I even did cold approaching or going up to girls and trying to grab numbers or just kind of have a moment of experience where I would, put myself out there. So that alone was like more recently newer to me. And when I got into this relationship, that was kind of the experience that I had. And so I really like that. I really don't like dating apps anymore. Like, even in my previous relationships, if I were to break up with a partner or stop talking to somebody, okay, back to the next person. Like, it just treats people like a revolving door. It's such a weird way to like approach things, but deep down in my spirit, I was disturbed because I couldn't be without the sense of like entertainment from another person, and like I didn't realize that I really could just shape my own. I'm a man. I can bend reality to my will however I want. Why do I have to be dictated to an algorithmic formula of that's sending me people in order for me to think that that's like my value, right? Because what happens is you put yourself out there, you don't get the results that you think that you want, and sometimes you do. And so it creates this constant cognitive dissonance within yourself that you're you know in reality that you're this way, but you're putting yourself into essentially a feedback or a survey, and you're getting negative results for that. And that starts to dictate your own reality in the real world. You start to really think that there's something wrong with you. So even if you do cold approach, or go into new social settings, it starts to really rewire your sense of reality. And you got to be very, very, that's something that you got to protect. You can't just throw it out there for somebody else to play with and mess with. You really have to protect that part about yourself in any scenario, whether it be dating or talking to chicks or whatever, anything, right? You got to be careful with allowing somebody to manipulate and puppeteer that part of your self-worth and value, because you have a lot more to offer of yourself than what may meet the eye, especially in a digital sense. Oh my God. You look at my profile on Instagram, you're not going to hear my voice. You're not going to hear the cadence of how I speak. You're not going to hear, and even through this medium, you're not going to hear how I naturally smell or what cologne I may have on, like the 3D reality of my micro expressions in real life, the way my breath even smells like. There's so much that's missed there. And you cannot allow that to dictate your reality too. So, if you're somebody that's kind of back and forth on that, and just realize that you may need to do some like deep thinking to be like, damn, why do I do this? Like, why do I do this? Is it because I don't think that I can do this in real life? And it's just the debt of the answer, or the density of the truth is too much for us to handle, I think, all at once. And you have to kind of sprinkle it over maybe a period of time before you kind of come to that realization. I think what did it for me this time around is that I grew a lot. Like, I grew a lot in this relationship, and just kind of, I was practicing a lot healthier habits that I never practiced before in other relationships. I was a lot more empathetic, understanding, a lot more patient, a lot more calm. And, unfortunately, could have been done certain things better, but I realized there's a lot of things about myself that this person saw things in me that I never saw about myself. And I was really appreciative of that, because I value this person's opinions and I value their perception of me. And so, that did give me confidence in a very healthy way that I had never. It's one thing if your mom or dad are really proud of you and they love you. I don't want to say they're supposed to, but it's almost expected of you innately as a human being to expect that out of your parents, especially because you see other parents do that. But when somebody else sees that out of you, and they see your potential, and they see the true beauty of who you are as a person on the inside, that's really powerful, man. That's really something that you can just hold on and attach to. And as you move forward to other areas or relationships of your life, you can carry on that torch. So I just want to leave you that, guys, there, just to wrap everything up. Life is coming from you, not at you, right? You kind of dictate the realities of things, not the other way around. Like, reality is not dictating you. You're dictating your reality. And your new experiences will start to change your belief system. But you have to have new opportunities for that to happen. And there's constant opportunities. You just have to go outside and just do things many of the times. And, once that happens, you reprogram the belief and realities to your will. Guys, I really appreciate you guys watching this video. It's your boy, Wipe O'Brien, signing off. Till next time. Peace.